So we're going to be talking about the Luciferians, rulers of this world. So I think the term is a very confusing term, Luciferian, because it has different connotations for different people. You know, the talk that we're going to give tonight has got a lot of religious, biblical overtones. So I've tried not to do it too much, making it more secular. But in the religious world, Satan is the bad guy, all right? Lucifer is synonymous with Satan, and so he's the bad guy. God is the good guy. But it's not that straightforward. So we have to look at that as well. And most of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about tonight is not what I believe, it's how the Luciferians believe. They steadfastly believe what are the philosophy and the doctrine that I'm going to share with you tonight. And it's so important to understand this because this is the driving force of those who rule the world. This is the driving force of the New World Order, the driving force of the World Economic Forum. Behind COVID-19, behind the social credit score, behind this fourth industrial revolution, behind the Great Reset, behind it is a very, very entrenched and well-defined spiritual religious doctrine called Luciferianism. So Luciferians is not just a secret group, but Luciferians is also a religion. And it's this philosophy that drives the people in charge to do what they do. So if you get a good understanding of this, it really helps. And it really connects the dots as to what really is happening in the world today. So that's important. Let's first look at the bloodline of Lucifer. Luciferians consider themselves superior, that's important. They have a very high opinion about themselves. They see themselves higher than humans. They are higher up on the scale, the hierarchy scale. They are separate from us and above us in social, evolutionary, and spiritual standing. That alone says a lot. That is why the Bill Gates of the world and the Klaus Schwabs of the world talk so down to us. Talk to us as if we're not really human. Especially that Israeli guy that gave that speech about we are hackable, humans are now hackable. Remember that guy that gave that speech at the World Economic Forum? Noah somebody. If you listen to the whole speech he gave, he hasn't got much consideration or respect for humanity. You know, in his mind, we're just animals. We're just cattle. And that is how they view us. That's important to know. So they are more important than us because they carry what they believe is the bloodline of Lucifer, and they adhere to a satanic agenda. So let's look at the name Lucifer. Where does it come from? The word Lucifer is a Latin word, and actually it's two words in one. It's Lucy and then fer. Lucy and then fer. Lucy simply means light. Lux intensity means light. And fer means bringing or bearing. So if you put the two words together, it means light bearer or light bringing. And another word we can use is morning star, because the morning star is the star that brings the light. So let's now look at the New World Order. Their agenda is to rule the world through a totalitarian one world government. They've been busy with this agenda for a very long time. We're talking thousands of years, millennia. They believe that there's something going to happen which they now believe is being manifest, is now at hand, and what it is a totalitarian one world government. We are living in those times. All the planning, all the preparation that they've done through the years is now coming to fruition. And to place Lucifer in his rightful place as supreme ruler of the world. Now, one of the criticisms we get when talking about the ability of these people to have one agenda is many people argue, and I've heard it all over the place. When I was on Loving Life, one of the guys who came and spoke, who phoned in, they come with this argument that, yeah, okay, there's a whole lot of rich people in the world. I mean, there's the Bill Gates, there's the Elon Musks. Surely they have their own agenda, each one of them. Each one's trying to outdo the other, and everyone's trying to get rich. That's how we humans would perceive it. But when you come to the Luciferians, you must realize that it's not human beings that are in charge. There are spiritual entities that control those human beings. And they give the agenda, they give the protocol to these individuals who belong to the 13 families. And therefore, the agenda continues through the genealogies. It just carries on and on and on. The same agenda, the same driving force, the same motivating force is there, regardless of whether the child comes along. Say now, a son is born, and he says, no ways, I'm not going to do what my dad does. I'm going on my own adventure. It doesn't work like that. The agenda steadfastly continues through the ages. That's important to understand. Luciferians have been working towards this final goal for thousands of years. So underneath the science of it all, which all you get on the news, you don't get this on the news. All we get is the science. All we get is the politics of it. But we don't get the religion of it. But behind the science is a very real belief structure in the occult. And it's hidden. It's very much hidden from us. Not many people know about the stuff that you are hearing about tonight. There is a very real occult agenda behind COVID-19, behind the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, and the United Nations. And there is a real, very legitimate and real brainwashing going on. People are being brainwashed. And they do that by altering people's perception. Perception is everything. If you can change a person's perception, you can change his ethics. You can change his worldview. You can change his belief structure. And that's what they do. They bring a perception to the world. And they suggest, the power of suggestion. And in this way, they bring a spell upon the whole world. Notice how passive people were during the COVID-19 crisis. People weren't fighting. People weren't resisting. People simply went along with it. And the reason for that is there is a mass brainwashing going on, a tampering with the psyche of humanity on various levels. One level being the media. If you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. So let's now talk about the Luciferians and the elite. Those who worship Lucifer. Yeah, it's recording. We'll get into the difference between Lucifer and Satan now. But this whole thing, if you go onto the web and you look at the alternative media, it is rife with subjects on the Luciferians and Satanism and all this type of stuff. Pedophilia. Pedophilia is everywhere. Okay, they don't show it on the main news, but it's everywhere on alternative media. Occult activity. In our pop culture, in our movies, we see this activity unfolding. It's rife in the alternate media. Human sacrifice. A large part of Luciferianism is human sacrifice. Human sacrifice is real, it's happening, and there's a reason why people practice human sacrifice, and we'll get into that as well. Luciferians are prominent people. It's not your group of youngsters, teenagers going up into the hills and dressing in black and killing a cat. That's not the Luciferians. Luciferians are very prestigious, elite people, the leaders in this world. Bill and Hillary Clinton is heavily involved in this sort of thing. Oprah Winfrey from time to time comes up with this sort of thing. Lady Gaga, most of her concerts are not just music concerts, but they are manifestations. They are Luciferic rituals that she carries out on stage to release, to conjure up entities from the other side, taking place in her music concerts. So Luciferians are not teenagers, like I've said, dancing in the forest. A good movie to watch is The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, showing you that what these people are really after is immortality. People become Satanists, and people practice Luciferianism to obtain immortality, together with powers. Powers are offered to people as an incentive to become these type of people. So Luciferians are not to be found among are to be found among professionals and the elite, the upper class. So we're talking people in the banking world, business people. You wouldn't even suspect them, all right? It's not like you'll know them. CEOs of banks, they are Luciferians. Politicians, many politicians are Luciferians. The Hollywood is packed with these type of people. The producers, the directors, the actors. The Vatican, especially the Black Pope and the Jesuit order, are full on into Luciferianism. The judicial system, there are judges that are Luciferians. So in a court case, it's not justice that prevails, it's who you know that prevails. In the medical world especially, doctors are Luciferians because they want access to newborns. They want access to infants, which are used for human sacrifice, for pedophilia, for MK Ultra projects, and so on. Prostitution, human trafficking. Often in hospitals, the child is pretend to be stillborn, and afterwards, behind the scenes, the baby is resuscitated and then taken off to be used in various branches. The pharmaceutical industry. Remember, the pharmaceutical industry is just there to drug us. It's about controlling our behavior and our emotions through chemicals, and also to control the population growth. What's that big word for that? I forget the word now. Eugenics, yeah. That's what the pharmaceutical company is all about. Have you noticed that every one of us that go to hospitals, that go to the doctors and take their pills, we are worse off than before. We are more sick than what we are healthy. It's a downward slope, okay? The pills and stuff. We need to find more healthy remedies to our health problems. Okay, a good series to watch concerning the medical doctors involved in Luciferianism is Sanguinarium in the X-Files. I think that word means something about blood drinking. Season 4, episode 6. It's about a plastic surgeon who belongs to a satanic coven, and they have access to people for blood, for the blood that is produced. They're after blood. Vampirism is very real in the world. Not just the vile side of human blood, but also the energy that we release is also used by these entities. So Luciferianism is also called the old religion. It's the old religion. It's ancient, okay? It goes back far into history. So contemporary culture and society has been deeply influenced by the Luciferians over the ages. Luciferians are also called the old religion. It goes back very, very far into the past. Luciferians worship a 5D entity known as Lucifer. Lucifer has a legion. He has soldiers under his control, demons if you like, archons if you like, led by Lucifer. This is a scene from Childhood's End, done by Arthur C. Clarke, a mini-series. So it is possible that Lucifer is an extraterrestrial being. Lucifer and his legion are parasitical and genderless, and they are ancient. They are very old creatures. All right, where does human sacrifice fit into the picture, and why do they practice human sacrifice? The ritual practice of child sacrifice is necessary to conjure up entities. If you want to communicate with Lucifer, communicate with his demons, something has to happen. It comes at a cost, and the cost is human sacrifice. Usually of an innocent or of a young person. A young person is preferred because the energy that comes off a young person or innocent person, the energy that comes off is very powerful and very pure. It's called lush. And in human sacrifice, well, that is what they're after. They're after this energy substance that comes off the body. It's like an aphrodisiac. It's like food. It's like sustenance to these entities. And so the more horrific the sacrifice is, the more lush comes off the body. And they devour this substance like vampires. But that is why the entities want it to happen when they show themselves to humans or to the mortals. The practice to evoke and convene, another word for Lucifer is Leviathan, and we'll talk about that as well. And the whole thing about human sacrifice started with Baal worship among the Phoenicians. Cannibalism did not start in the jungles of South America. Human sacrifice did not start among the Incas in South America or in the deep jungles of Africa. Human sacrifice started among the Phoenicians / Canaanites of the Middle East. That's where it started. So to understand human sacrifice and cannibalism, you have to understand Baal worship and what Baal worship is all about. Luciferians in the modern form is a modern form of the ancient cult of Baal worship. Another name is Moloch, the god Moloch. That name is still used today among Luciferians, the worship of Moloch. So what did the Baal worshippers do? They had a huge big statue made of bronze, and they heated it underneath. The whole structure became heated. The metal became white hot with the heat, and this was done for the purposes of human sacrifice. We have a statue of Moloch in the Colosseum in Rome, Italy. What I found fascinating about this statue is the symbolism on it, because we see there the Star of David, the hexagram. Notice the angelic wings of Lucifer. The hexagram is there with the all-seeing eye in the center. Both those symbols are very Saturn symbols. And we have on the hands, the palms, the 8-pointed star, which is the star of Ishtar, which we spoke about a lot last time. So what they would do is, now remember, Judaism actually comes from the Phoenicians. Judaism is Phoenician. And before the Jews were monotheistic, the Jews were first polytheistic. They worshipped many gods, and one of the gods they worshipped was Baal. And Baal taught the Jews and the Phoenicians to sacrifice children to the god Moloch. That's where it comes from. That's why in the Old Testament you get all this sacrificing of animals, sacrificing of humans even, in the Old Testament. Why? Because it's all based on Baal worship. The Israelites don't really have a Hebrew language. Hebrew is not an Israelite language. The Hebrew language is based on Phoenician. It is a Phoenician language. And so what would happen was they would take a child. Moloch wanted children to be sacrificed. And so they would take the child and place the child in the hands, the burning hot hands of the statue. And the child would, under great agony and pain, crying out, lose its life. And they would beat drums. They would beat the drums while this is happening, so that the father, who gave his child willingly, could not hear the pain of his infant son being sacrificed. And so this is where cannibalism actually comes from. The word cannibal. Israel today is nothing more than the ancient Canaanite people from the land of Canaan. Remember when Israel left Egypt, they went to the land of Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey. This is the place where Baal worship was practiced. The Canaanites worship the sun or Baal. Baal means husband, and husband is the sun. The sun is masculine. That's where the idea of a masculine sun comes from. The moon is feminine, the sun is masculine. Canaanites practiced child sacrifice. I am the light of the world, I shine. Those terminologies are all Baal. It's Baal related. So they would kill the child and then burn the body on an altar. So they would kill the child, and then Moloch demanded that the priests consume the flesh of the body that's just been sacrificed. That's where cannibalism comes from. They had to consume the flesh. It was said that Baal loved the smell of burning flesh. And we find the same stuff happening in the Old Testament. We see Abraham taking his son Isaac up onto the mountain. And what is he doing? He's sacrificing him to the gods. All right? Why is human sacrifice practiced as well? It's to appease the gods. Okay? Ancient tribes would have a volcano, and they don't want their volcano to erupt, and they hear the volcano rumbling. So what did they do? They would sacrifice a person by throwing him into the volcano. And usually it was a young person or a virgin. Why? Because they're trying to appease the god. All right? If there's a famine in the land and there's no food, what would they do? The first thing they do is they sacrifice somebody to appease the god, so that the god would let it rain again. So one has to ask the question, is Abraham worshipping the God of Jehovah, or is he worshipping the God of Baal, who practiced human sacrifice? So the Baal worshippers would also have to eat the sacrifice. And that is where the word cannibal comes from. Cannibal is two words. Cana, from Canaan, and Baal. The priests of Baal, the Canaanites who worship Baal, would eat the flesh of those sacrificed. That's where the term cannibal comes from. But you won't find this anywhere on Wikipedia because they don't want you to know that. Baal worship, human sacrifice, and cannibalism is very much part of the Jewish history and culture. Even in the Bible, we can see that taking place.
So it's not just human sacrifice, but animals.
Animals as well.
Lots of animal sacrifice.
Yeah.
But we still sacrifice them.
Because remember, animals also give off an energy. And they all, and the gods can also use that animal energy as a sustenance. Okay? Remember the film by Tom Cruise called Interview with a Vampire? Do you remember that Tom Cruise did not want to eat the blood, drink the blood of humans? So what did he do? He drank the blood of pigeons and rats. Okay? Because that would also give him energy and sustenance to survive. That is why animal and human sacrifice is so important in the Bible and among the Jewish people. Now remember, Christianity is built on Judaism. All right? If Judaism is the foundation, then Christianity is the house that is built on Judaism. And that is why we have human sacrifice among Christians as well, because it comes from Judaism. That is why Jesus, the Sun God, was put to death and sacrificed. Why? To appease the God, you see? To appease the God again. Without the shedding of blood is no remission of sins. And so sacrifice becomes predominant. It becomes extremely important to practice. That is why, let's go back. That is why we are told to eat the body of Christ. Just like the Baal gods told the priests to eat the flesh of the children, so Jesus tells his followers to eat the flesh. Why? Because in the flesh you get eternal life. If you eat of this body and drink of this blood, you will have eternal life because of the lush, because of the energy that's coming off this flesh. Jesus, like Baal, told the Jews to eat the flesh of those sacrificed. Now today in churches all over the world, on Sundays, they are practicing human sacrifice and cannibalism. They're killing Jesus afresh every Sunday, and they're eating the flesh and drinking the blood, just like the Baal priests of old used to do. But it's made all beautiful and all rosy and all holy today. But it's basically Baal worship. The cross is a plain demonstration and symbol of human sacrifice. Christianity is based on blood consumption and cannibalism. Halloween also, the Druids practiced human sacrifice on the 31st of October, which is called the Witches' Sabbath. Human sacrifice and cannibalism took place. Druids, again, are based on the Phoenician understanding. There's very strong similarities between the Druids and the Jews of old. If you look at the priestly dress, they dress in white garments. If you put the high priest next to a Druid priest, they're almost identical. For the purpose of making contact with the spiritual world, the reason for human sacrifice, again, is always to conjure up entities, to have contact with these entities. I read a book once called Set the Captives Free. I forget the lady's name. She was a Satanist, and she came out of Satanism. And she says that she was present at one of the covens on the 31st of October where a human sacrifice took place. And she said on every continent on the 31st of October, somebody is sacrificed, a human being is sacrificed. So Halloween and the concept of human sacrifice is very much alive with us today. There's a movie called The Wicker Man, Christopher Lee, where we see among the Celtic religion, they would build this big wooden structure, and fill it with humans and animals and burn it. And usually innocent people were placed in these cages and burnt. And it was done for the purpose of bringing fertility to the land. All right? If there was no rain, they would do this to bring fertility to the land. Someone had to be sacrificed for that to take place. There are actually 2 movies. There's another Wicker Man that's just come out, 2006, and that's done by Nicolas Cage. You know old Nicolas Cage. Oh, I'm the best actor in the world, and I even have to play the role of human sacrifice. So go watch that movie. So yeah, very interesting background to the whole Wicca movement. Human sacrifice in different cultures being practiced. Abortion. Abortion is nothing more than the modern form of human sacrifice. It's giving your child to Lucifer for the purpose of conjuring up entities. In fact, the Luciferians actually say that. You're giving it willingly. The law of willingness. You willingly let me in. The devil will always come to your door and say, let me in. Because the devil cannot just enter. You have to invite the devil in. All right? Yeah. Can I come in? So abortion is considered by Satanists as a holy sacrament. The Luciferians love abortion. They love it. It's a human sacrifice to the god of Moloch. The satanic abortion ritual encourages pregnant women to please abort your child. They believe that Lucifer will look favorably upon you if you practice child abortion. Some medical doctors, incredible things are happening in the medical field where they take the children, stillborns, and resuscitate them and then use them in all kinds of horrible and grotesque ways. We also have what's called satanic breeders. Satanic breeders. People that are chosen to bring children into the world for the express purpose of being used and abused and manipulated in pedophilia, in the MK Ultra project, the Monarch project, in human trafficking, and so on. When I talk about the drinking of blood later on, that little bottle they drink, what's it called? Adrenochrome. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And their task is to produce children who will be offered as sacrifices in satanic rituals or for black market trade, slavery, prostitution, MK Ultra. Here in South Africa, child trafficking is huge. It is a huge industry. And the adrenochrome that comes from black children, from African children, is actually worse. Is actually better. The substance is better. The loose that comes off that is stronger than European blood. And so African children are highly sought after by the Luciferians. Okay, so it's the old religion, but it's also the modern religion. Religion bloodline. Satanism is a lower... the difference between Luciferianism and Satanism is that Luciferians belong to the 13 families. They have what's called the blue blood flowing in their veins. Okay? No amount of money can get you into that order. You have to be genetically part of it. But they do have a lower echelon, which are what is called the Satanists. They are lower than the Luciferians. Hierarchy is very important amongst the Luciferians. In fact, the whole world is based on a pyramid hierarchical structure. Luciferians of the bloodlines are privileged families and enjoy great wealth and status within and without the cult. So here's the genealogy of the Rothschilds. I think it's the Rothschilds. And also what's interesting is that the genealogy does not follow the father's line, it follows the mother's line, just like in Judaism. Selective breeding is extremely important to Luciferians because they want to keep the blood pure. Even today, selective breeding is extremely important. They will only interbreed amongst their own family members so that the blood does not become impure or saturated. Yeah, the Rockefellers. Sorry, this is the Rockefeller genealogy. There's a book written, very detailed, shows you the 13 families and the genealogies of the 13 families, written by Fritz Springmeier. Okay, now let's look at the 13 families. And actually, there are 14 families. One is hidden, and that family is the Merovingians, the long-haired kings, the Merovingians of France. They are above the 13 families. So they are the hidden 14th family. But the 13 families are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Astors, the Bundys, the Collins, the DuPonts. There's a movie that's just come out called Blackwater, which is about the DuPont family, the Freemans, the Kennedys, the Lees, the Onassis, the Reynolds, the Russells, the Van Duns, that's Dutch. Now, what's very interesting about these families is we must understand that it's not based specifically on one race, okay? There are Chinese people there are Greeks there. I remember giving this talk on 702, and a guy phoned in and wanted to know, are there any black people that are part of the 13 families? And I couldn't think of one. So yeah, predominantly European, okay? 13 families are predominant. We're talking British royalty. We're talking European royalty. This is the 13 families. And it is these people that run the world. No matter how they try to criticize it, no matter how people try to cover it up and don't believe in it, this world is not run by independent sovereign countries. This world is run by these 13 families. And they do it by manipulating our weaknesses. And they do it because they've developed techniques over the years, over millennia, on how to dominate and manipulate the human race. One favorite tool that they use is the love of money. Because we love money so much, we fall into this pyramid structure. And we've all become indebted. Have you noticed that everybody is in debt today? And because you are in debt, you become a slave to this system. So there's records kept. The authenticity of the bloodlines are kept, and they are kept in the Catholic, the Vatican, caves under the Vatican, the archives. And there all the information is kept. Not just the lineage of the 13 families, but very secretive knowledge is kept in these archives. I remember Tom Hanks in Angels and Demons. He was invited in to one of these archives down there, and he got hold of some books, and the one lady tore a page out the book. Okay, but secretive stuff that the world doesn't know about, is kept hidden in those vaults. Some of the stuff that's kept down there is the evidence of UFOs and extraterrestrial species. The whole Zechariah Sitchin thing with the Anunnaki is kept in the Vatican vaults. The origin, the true origin of life on earth is kept in these vaults. We are told fairy tales in comparison to what really is out there. The forbidden sciences and technologies that we don't even know about, are kept in these books. Technologies of things discovered in the past, powerful technologies, but hidden from us today. Occult secrets. Can you imagine getting into the occult books of the Vatican? Who really runs the world is shown in these books. The secret of eternal life, Elixir, is in these books. The true nature of the matrix and the world that we live in today is hidden in these books. The lie of religion is hidden in these books in the Vatican. So it is pyramid rule that rules the day. That's why we have a pyramid on the American dollar bill with the all-seeing eye on the top. It's all controlled. So there's the pyramid. Of course, we are down here, all right? We are the slaves that keep all these people alive and fat and healthy. The goyim. So this pyramid shows you there's the 13 families, and just beneath the 13 families you have the Council of 300, which is called the sub-families of the 13 families, the Bilderberg group. Then we get down to the world financial control centers of the world. Money rules this world. You cannot do anything without money. The more money you have, the more freedom you have. Have you noticed that? If you had money in your bank account, you could climb on a plane and go on holiday to Hawaii. All right? You can buy a Lamborghini, live in a mansion, if you have money. And so they keep the money away from us, and they control us through money. It's not Cyril Ramaphosa that is in charge of South Africa. It is the banks that control us. You cannot buy a car without the bank giving you the go-ahead. You cannot buy a house without the bank giving you the go-ahead. And in this way, they control humanity. Beneath the banks and corporations, the corporations is the control of resources, okay? And we live in a very unique world today where corporations are more important than government. Corporations are higher than government. Corporations dictate to government what should be done. And so there's another one that I've got there. Going down the banks, very similar to the one we've just seen. Education, religion, government, and then the debt slaves down here. There's another one. I love this one. This one's a comedy. It's so funny. At the top, we have those that rule. Hey, we rule you. And underneath them, you have the religious clergy. We fool you. And underneath them, you have the military. We shoot you. And underneath them, you have the rich aristocracy that we eat for you. And right at the bottom, you have all the people making the food and working very hard to keep this pyramid afloat. I made my own pyramid. So let's just go through stage by stage here. At the bottom, we have the masses, the workforce. On top of them, you have the military, the police, and the judicial system. Notice that the only way to really control people is through violence. If money doesn't work, you use violence. If the citizens don't behave, violence is practiced on you, okay? Even in a civilized world. Have you noticed how policemen have changed these days? In the past, you had policemen like Postman Pat, with his black and white cat, friendly policemen. Today, they look like Robocops. Have you seen them? Visors, big protective uniforms, massive machine guns. What is going on? They rule the world through violence. On top of that, you have the governments of the world, which work hand in hand with the media and with education and religion. Have you noticed, just now recently, we had the EFF shutdown day, all right? It dissipated. There was nothing to it. It was a dog with a very loud bark and no bite. Much ado about nothing. The EFF march. The biggest march they had got a number together where Julius was 2,000 people. But that's not how the media portrayed it. Wow! The media made it out to be Armageddon. This is World War III. We had military vehicles all the way along the N1 on Soweto. We had the media. Woo, you must lock yourself up in your house. It's the end of the world. And that's what they do. The media makes a world for us that's not real. Same with COVID. The same thing happened. Banks, corporations, the Committee of 300. Banks control government. Corporation controls government. And then corporations are controlled through the World Economic Forum and other organizations, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300 control the world. Who controls the Committee of 300? Well, we have secret societies, and we have public secret societies, and we have hidden secret societies. The public secret societies are the ones that we all know about. The Freemasons, for instance. Now, not the normal Freemason on the road. I'm talking about high up, 33rd degree Freemasons, the Scottish Rite, the Inner Circle, the red-colored Freemasons, the Knights Templar, the Knights of Malta, Opus Dei, the Jesuit order, the Inner Circle of the Jesuit order. But then you get secret societies that we don't even know about. They are so hidden. Some of them don't even have names, and they are totally separate from the public. And the reason why they keep it so secret, and the method of use they use to keep it secret, is members that belong to these secret societies have to sign what's like a non-disclosure agreement, where you will be killed, your family will be killed, if you reveal the secrets of this society. One of them is called the Hand, which not many people know about. Another one is called the Brotherhood of Saturn, which not many people know about. But they belong to the unknown secret societies. Skull and Bones. Yeah. And on top of them, the ones that control them is the 13 families, together with the European royal families. And then on top of them, what do we have? Now we leave the physical world and we leave the terrestrial and we go into the extraterrestrial. And there we have the reptilians that control the 13 families. David Icke's lizard people, okay, which is a very real thing. And then you get extraterrestrials. There are extraterrestrials above the reptilians. I spoke about this on CakeNet. There was some program. Wat is waarheid? Yeah. And I remember walking in Woolworths, and there were these two teenagers. They started giggling at me. Obviously, they saw me on Wat is waarheid. And I imagined they were talking about this, the fact that I'm talking about reptilians. On top of the reptilians, it is believed that the insectoids actually control the reptilians. On top of that, an entity which is called the One rules this entire pyramid structure. And so you have the terrestrial and you have the extraterrestrial on the top. But now it goes even further than that. Let's have a look at this little triangle on the top there. Now we leave the physical world and we go into the spiritual world, into higher dimensions. So there gaan hy groot nou, sien. And then we look at these levels. Okay? At the bottom you have the archons. These are names, they obviously have different names. But archons, let's call them demons. On the fourth and fifth dimension. People that are possessed by demonic entities. And then you also have hybridization. You have a mixture of human and reptilian. A mixture of human and reptilian DNA over here. And then you have the archons or the demons proper, those that operate on higher realms. Their boss, obviously, is the demiurge, the false god, if we follow the Gnostic pattern. On top of that, I believe there's a Saturn entity or a Saturn energy that also controls this pyramid. On top of that, we have what's called the Council of Nine. We have entities that don't only rule the earth, but we have entities that rule the solar system And we have an entity that rules the entire galaxy, the entire Milky Way. And that's done by the Council of Nine. And on top of that, we don't know, there's something else higher up. What? You must tell me, then I can put it in the slide there. I don't know about that. So this is where the physical ends, where we have a mixture of physical and spiritual. Okay? And then the rest is all spiritual beings. These are the creatures that run everything that's happening on Earth. And if we put the dimensions next to it, this is the dimensions that they are in. 5D, 6D to 7D, 8D, and so on. Now there's a reason why the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, hovers above the pyramid. There's a reason for that. Why does the all-seeing eye hover above the pyramid? Well, one explanation is that they who really rule the world are not part of this world. They are above the world. They are in the spiritual realm. The all-seeing eye is above this realm, the 3D realm. But there will come a day, and it's close now, that the pyramid on the top will merge and will fuse and will sit and rest on the bottom of the pyramid. This is the time when the physical and the spiritual will come together as one. And the physical and spiritual will walk hand in hand in the streets. And this time is still to come. It's spoken of in Revelations. Spiritual beings and physical beings. A time will come when the physical and the spiritual will merge. Also time as we know it, will be distorted and will enter into a timeless zone where 3D is fused with 4D, 4D being the realm of timelessness. And so that will also happen in the future. Now there are pyramids within pyramids. Remember, everything is pyramids in this world. Your school is a pyramid. You've got a principal on the top and all the poor scholars at the bottom. Okay? Hospitals are pyramid structure. In fact, hospitals are the most military-run organizations on the earth. The doctor reports to someone higher. The nurses report to the doctor. The poor patients are at the bottom of everything. But hospitals are very military-run. The military is pyramid structure. Our whole world consists of little pyramids within a big pyramid. And I keep telling people, what we need in the world today is not pyramid structure, but circle structure. We need to come together and have a circle in our governance, where everybody is on equal footing. One is not higher than the other. And where function is just a function, not a position in society. We need circle rule, not pyramid rule. Okay, let's talk about the Merovingians. The Merovingians came up in the movie The Matrix, Reloaded. The Frenchman, his characteristic is Merovingian. He doesn't have long hair. But in the latest Matrix, he's this boomerang on the side of the road and he has long hair. Has anybody heard of the lady called Marina Abramovic? Marina Abramovic. Marina Abramovic belongs to the 14th family. She is a Merovingian. She comes from Serbia. She's a powerful, powerful witch. Merovingians carry the most power because they have the purest serpent satanic seed in them. She's of the Merovingian bloodline. She's higher than the Clintons. They are the 13 families. She's higher than the Rockefellers. They are of the 13 families.
Performance is all about state of mind. The hardest thing is to do something which is close to nothing, because it's demanding all of you.
She is directly and boldly challenging an audience.
Art is beautiful. Art must be beautiful.
She needs the audience like air to breathe.
There is only one question I didn't hear since 10 years. Why is this art?
She slows everybody's brain down. She transforms us as a result.
Destroying Mama is important. I want to be a real form of art before I die.
Marina Abramovich, the artist is present, means she will be present.
Nina, are you nervous about the show at the moment? Incredibly. And when you say in the chair, what are you looking at?
Anybody who sits in front of me, it's just the gaze.
7.5 hours, 6 days a week, motionless.
It's a matter of time before firing someone in the face is going to be art.
This is about limit, even for me.
Okay, so that's Marina Abramovich. Here is a very interesting photograph because we see Rothschild, Jacob Rothschild, standing next to Marina Abramovich. But notice the painting in the background. This painting is in one of the mansions of the Rothschilds. And guess who it is? It's none other than Lucifer himself. It was painted by Sir Thomas Lawrence and speaks of the summoning of the legions by Satan. It comes from Milton's Paradise Lost, the poem book Milton's Paradise Lost, and the title is, it is a war cry that Lucifer is giving to his army, saying, awake, arise, or be forever fallen. Now, I mean, can you imagine? The very person that these people worship, he's got a painting of this person in his house. I think that was just taking the cake for me. Interesting painting. Now, this is what the elite get up to, you know, these secret parties that they have that they don't want us normies to know about. This was the 2011 Mocha Gala that took place. Now, Lady Gaga is big chommies with Marina Abramovich. In fact, a lot of the talent that Lady Gaga has is owed to Marina. Lady Gaga lived with Marina for something like 3 months in her mansion. And Marina gave her and taught her the ways of the occult. That's why there is so much occultic activity in her concerts and music videos and so on. She would run around naked in the forest at the back of the house for weeks on end. And she was trained by Marina Abramovich. Here we see them at this gala, and this is a manifestation, a ritual of Baal worship, the eating and the drinking of blood, eating of the flesh. So they've got a guy lying in the syrup, red syrup, and it's supposed to be now they're consuming the blood. I mean, what type of a party is that? I mean, why do they even have a party like that, you know? Remember, these people are not normies. They're not like us. Their motives and their philosophy is so different to ours. The term spirit cooking came up, Marina's terminology, spirit cooking, which emphasizes the goal of the Luciferians, the devouring of mankind. The devil cometh not but for to kill, to steal, and to destroy, and to consume the energy of man. It is vampirism. That's plain as I can say it. At the same gala, this Mocha Gala, they had replicas made, cake replicas made of red velvet cake. And the ladies lying here are supposed to be Debbie Harry from Blondie, I think it's some music thing, and Marina Abramovich. And so the audience is literally eating the bodies of these two individuals. And so a lot of celebrities are involved in this. This is just one of them, Debbie Harry from the Blondie music group. There they're cutting the body up and feeding it to the audience. They had to wear these white doctor's coats because it's some sort of medical thing, you know. That was the whole theme for the evening. They're examining bodies and playing around with cadabras and everything. And they're serving this cake to the people. This is a satanic ritual. It is a manifestation. Okay, there's a spiritual aspect to this whole thing. Yeah, they're sitting around a circle with their lab coats on, and in the middle, while they're eating, there's this naked woman lying there with a skeleton over her. These are not normal people, all right? These are not normal people. But celebrities are here. Government officials are here. Attend these galas and these events. And then scattered throughout on all the tables, we have these heads. So you're eating your food and this head is looking at you. Okay. Will Ferrell was there, the film comedian. I don't like him that much. He was there. Okay. All these famous people. Pamela Anderson was there at this event. In fact, when after the event, the newspapers and the press went crazy. They criticized it greatly about what's happening. But that's Marina Abramovich for you. And remember, this is all done in the name of art. If you notice, when you do something in the name of art, you get away with murder. No. There's nothing wrong with this. This is art, It's just art. But notice that it's the appetite of the reptilians. The reptilians devour flesh. Just watch the movie V, The Visitors. It's about eating flesh. And so they do what their masters tell them to do, the devouring of flesh, for the louche sake of it all. Alright, so let's just talk a little bit now about serpent seed, the origins of Luciferianism. What exactly happened in the Garden of Eden, according to the Luciferians? How do they view it? There's much more going on in the Garden of Eden than meets the eye. The eating of the fruit is simply a metaphor for sexual activity between alien DNA and human DNA. That's what's happening. So the Luciferians believe that their father is Cain, that the line of Cain and the line of Abel are entirely two different species. The one is alien and the one is human. Where Adam is the father of Abel, Lucifer or Leviathan is the father of Cain. Because the reason for this is on the very same day, Eve made love initially to the serpent on the same day. She didn't only take fruit from, according to the Luciferians, she didn't only eat. The eating of the fruit is actually a sexual activity. She actually engaged in sexual intercourse with the serpent, with Leviathan. And the union of that was Cain. And on the same day, she made love to Adam, and that union brought forth Abel. And so it's called the serpent seed doctrine, that there are two seeds upon the earth. The seed of man and the seed of the serpent. Okay, Cain and Abel. This is actually based on Gnosticism, and it comes from the Gospel of Philip. The Gospel of Philip brings this out very strongly. Now, there was a guy, a TV evangelist in the 50s and 60s by the name of William Branham, and he preached the doctrine of the serpent seed, the line, the lineage of Cain and the lineage of Abel, and that there are two species on the earth today. Notice the halo. They took a photograph of this gentleman, and there was a halo on his head. He did tremendous miracles and performed healings, William Branham. Now, you can read it into the scripture if you have a good imagination. You can read it into scripture. If you read the scripture, and I will put enmity, that's God putting enmity between thee, he's talking to the serpent. I will put enmity between thee, the serpent, and the woman, and between thy seed, the seed of the serpent, and her seed, the seed of Abel. Two seeds. Each shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And so there is this controversy between Abel and Cain. Not only long time ago, but this controversy continues till today. And so the seed, the children of Abel, are in constant loggerheads and in constant controversy with the seed of Cain. This battle still rages today. So you have Abel, son of Adam, of the Christ line, and you have Cain, son of Satan, of the Lucifer line. Now I'm going to show you how this story repeats itself again and again and again through the histories. When we look at the Merovingians, I'll show you that. Cain, son of Leviathan. Now let's just look at the psychological makeup of Cain. Cain is very different to Abel in his psychological makeup. And that's because his father is not of this earth. His father is an alien entity. The life force, the energy that flows in Cain is different to the life force that flows in Abel. His psyche, his life force is different. Cain's consciousness is not the same as Abel's consciousness. You see, Cain has got nothing of humanity in him. Cain has got no feelings. He's psychopathic. He's narcissistic. He's very self-centered. The only thing that's important to him is me, myself, and I. Whereas Abel is compassionate. It has the human emotion of love, which is absent in the Cain line. The bloodline of Cain is psychopathically and psychologically not human. The Cain line is actually reptilian, if you think of it. Reptilians are these predators, these creatures that go out and devour. Abel is not built like that, but the reptilians are high intellect, but lacking emotion. A natural predator with sharply honed instincts designed to hunt and kill. Remember, Cain was the hunter. He went out, he killed. Abel was the one who was in the fields, I think. The Cain bloodline carries a predatory proclivity, a predisposition inherited from their father, the serpent. So the bloodline of Abel has the counterbalance of the compassion and love. Cain is very left brain, the logical side of the brain, whereas Abel is very right brain, the artistic, emotional side. And so the love emotion is missing. So Luciferians by nature, the children of Cain, are sadistic, they are deceptive, they are narcissistic, they are predators, they are parasitical, they are psychopathic. Oh, they don't create, they can't create anything, all right? And if they do show emotions, it's because they imitate our emotions. They look at us and learn from us and pretend to have emotions. They're the great pretenders. Bloodlusting, cannibalism, selfish, defiant, dominant, and without love, compassion, and virtue. This is the nature of the Cain people, a false kindness. And this verse, this interpretation is backed up in the New Testament when in 1 John we read that Cain is of that wicked one. Cain is of the wicked one, being Satan or Lucifer. He is of that wicked one. For this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, all right, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. So I said the eating of the tree has got more to do with sexuality than simply eating a fruit. There's forbidden sexuality going on here in the Garden of Eden. She looked at the tree and you can see the sexual connotations here. A tree to be desired, to make one wise, pleasant to the eyes. There's something else going on here. When you look at an apple, is it pleasant to the eyes? You know, is it a fruit to be desired? Does an apple give you wisdom? Okay, there's more going on than just eating an apple. The great transgression of Eve was not the disobedience of God's word, but the forbidden sexual engagement with an alien entity. This is the prime directive. This is a huge no-no in the biblical world, in the Jehovah God world. One does not have intercourse with alien species. That is what Genesis 6 is all about, all right? The sons of God visited the daughters of men, and unto them giants were born. And if you go read the book of Enoch, it explains in great detail what that's all about. And it's the hybridization of the human species with an alien entity. So sex is very, very important. And you'll find that sex plays an extremely important role in the Luciferian. Part of their coven gatherings is always a sexual connotation and sexual activity taking place. Why? Why is that so? We need to understand what sex is really all about. When you have sex, there is a tremendous amount of energy that is released from the human body, both physically and spiritually. Just on the physical side alone, your body goes through incredible changes on hormones, muscles, blood. It's incredible when you do a study on sexual arousal and orgasm, just on the physical side. Now, if that's happening on the physical side, can you imagine what is happening on the spiritual side? Incredible, powerful things are happening in the spiritual dimension. These energies are captured in the DNA and passed on to the progeny during conception. The art of making love, the energy that is released from the male and the female, the man and the woman, that energy combines and it is taken in by the blood and is given to the child. So that energy is given over to the child. And also a unique fingerprint, a unique signature of energy formation is also given to the child, which helps with the individuality of that child. So the way you make love determines how your child will turn out. That's something. Physical and sexual action convey to the child the life force, energy, and emotional motivations that are captured in the DNA. So even consciousness is transposed onto the child through the parents, through the act of making love. The energies are given to the child, and through that, consciousness is given to the child. Consciousness is released and given to the conceived child during sexual activity. The energy released during the sexual activity is transferred to the newborn and becomes an essential ingredient in the life force, the psychological makeup of the child. So what happened with Adam, what happened with Eve, with her encounter with the serpent in the tree? What exactly is going on over here? Well, first of all, what we mentioned earlier, it is the universal law of invitation. Notice that Satan, the serpent, beguiled Eve. There's a seduction going on here. Eve at any time could have said no, put her foot down, draws a line in the sand and said, no, I won't. But she didn't. She looked at the fruit and said, I desire this, I want this, I want immortality. And in order to get immortality, she had to succumb to the temptations of the serpent, give herself sexually to the serpent in order to get powers and eternal life. Eternal life in the sense of the blue blood of Lucifer being eternal with the lineage. Okay, that's going into the immortality of it all. Interesting that she willingly allowed the serpent to have intercourse with her. And not just her. The Bible says that Eve gave of the fruit to Adam, and Adam did also eat. So androgynously, Adam also said yes to the serpent. Adam and Eve gave consent to Leviathan. And so, according to natural law, no law was broken because it was a willing, consensual act that Eve did with Lucifer. The universal law of consent. You have to invite the evil into your life. And so that's why the movie has got the title, Let Me In. The vampire stands at the door and tells the little boy inside the house, I can't come in. You have to invite me in. If you invite me in, then I have power. I have power over you. And all these entities work according to the same law. They have to ask for the consent of it all. So no laws were broken because of mutual consent. Adam was also willing, as I said, on an androgynous basis. Okay, let's talk a bit about Leviathan. Who is Leviathan? So now we're going to see that the same story that we saw Adam and Eve, the fact that alien entities are having sexual intercourse with humans, plays itself out again among the French Merovingians. And we're going to see that. So Leviathan comes up in many places, both in the Bible and ancient literature. It's this great sea monster. It's always associated with water. It is the dragon in Revelations. It is the serpent in the garden. His name is Leviathan. He is the reptilian of exobiology, the exopolitics. And this brings us to the line of the Merovingians and how the Merovingians started. The Merovingians are the Franks, they're French. In fact, it is believed that the lineage of Jesus is the Merovingian line. A powerful dynasty. They were known for their long hair, the long-haired kings. In fact, Aquaman is a Merovingian. Also has long hair in the comics now. The beast of Neptune. It's also known as Quinatar, the five-headed horned beast. So the story goes that Claudio, the king, the first king of the Merovingians, one day his wife went swimming in the sea. She went and bathed in the sea. And she was attacked by a sea monster, which was Leviathan. She was seduced by this monster. She had sex with this monster. And on the same day, she also had intercourse with her husband, the king, Claudio. And a son was born, whose name was Merovich. And Merovich is believed to have the mixture of DNA, both of Leviathan and of the human Claudio. And it was said that he had supernatural powers. He had the powers of telepathy. He had the powers of telekinesis. He had incredibly powerful strength. And it was believed because he was half man and half alien. That's the story that comes from the Merovingian bloodline. Making love to a sea creature. Notice how similar this is to the story of Adam and Eve. King Merovich, not entirely human, but alien and human together, the son of Leviathan. The Merovingian kings claimed supernatural powers of telepathy, clairvoyance, and the ability to heal the sick even, because of the fact that his blood wasn't human blood, but it was blue blood, alien blood. And this is where the whole story of Aquaman comes from. Aquaman also is a being that had now the sexes are changed. His mother comes from Atlantis, comes from under the ocean, a sea creature, a mermaid. And his father, the guy that was in the lighthouse. And their union brought forth this creature, half man, half human, with supernatural powers, just like Merovec. Aquaman, the whole story of Aquaman there, was played by Nicole Kidman. There's baby Aquaman. All right. She was actually killed because of the prime directive. A sea creature may not make love to a human. Okay? She was put to death because she did that. It's a big no-no. And then there's a movie called The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water that came out in 2018. It wasn't at your normal movies, it was at the Lalidar movies, you know, the art house movies. But a very powerful movie. And it's based on the Merovingian bloodline again. It is a sea creature that makes love to a woman, Claudio's wife. The Leviathan, Lucifer serpent seed inserted into the human gene pool. And so there are beings that walk amongst us who are not entirely human. They are a mixture of human and alien. The Bible condemns the mingling of alien and human seed. It's one of the biggest no-nos in the Bible. And it's all over in our movies. Cocoon, we see an alien entity in water making love to a human being. It's the same story portrayed in our movies. And now you see the sexual energy that comes off a person when you make love. See how this alien entity is glowing. This is a visible representation of what's happening in the other dimensions when you undergo sexual activity. Notice the energy that comes off. Incredible energy that comes off. It's a ball that's rotating. And then it spins, and then it shoots out and enters into the human. And this energy is consumed into the human body. See there? Wah! Okay. Okay. See daar gaan die bol. Wow. More movies about aliens making love to humans. The movie Splash. Species also. An alien entity that comes to Earth to impregnate herself with human DNA. We can talk about satanic ritual abuse and how children are exposed to human sacrifice, the trauma that children undergo in satanic covens, and there's specific reasons why this is happening. If you can cause a child to undergo tremendous trauma, it changes the child's personality completely. What they are trying to do is they're trying to take the emotion of love and compassion out of children from a young age. And so they do that through satanic ritual abuse. Luciferians will actually give their children over to be used in this way and to be abused in this way. Luciferians also abuse their own children. Continuous rape, child over decades. And so the psychology of the child is totally destroyed. The whole MK Ultra project and the splitting of personalities, we can't go into that, but very interesting. The mind has the ability to split. It's a defense mechanism. When a child is put under extreme torture and pain, the way the mind handles that is it splits into two personalities. It gives one personality over to go through the trauma, the pain, the suffering, while the other personality escapes. And so they tell the child to go to your happy place, go to the rainbow, go to the yellow brick road, get away from it. They use fairy tales to get the child to split between the trauma and the happy place. Movie like Split shows you this splitting of personalities. multiple personality disorder. And the quintessential movie that shows you what MK Ultra is all about is, of course, the Stranger Things movie with 11, the main protagonist. The word 11 actually means is shortened to L. And L is interesting because it's Elohim, the angel. So it's all about this satanic ritual abuse that's taking place. Children begin to become psychopathic, killing machines. If you haven't watched Manchurian Candidate, this is an incredibly eye-opening movie on this. Children are also told through the movies that it's okay to not have parents. Most MK Ultra children are orphans, and this is portrayed in the movie world. Name me a protagonist in a movie, and I will show you that that actor has no parents, or one parent is missing. Bambi, even Bambi, lost his parents. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, lost his parents in a plane crash, and even his foster dad died. Batman, Bruce Wayne, his parents were shot. Do you know what it does to a child when a child loses its parents? The child changes completely, and that suffering, that trauma stays with the child for the rest of its life. And that is used by the Satanists and the Luciferians to control and manipulate that child. Most of the MK Ultra children come from broken homes, orphans, and so on. Superman lost his parents on planet Krypton. And even the foster father, played by Kevin Costner, also died. Aquaman lost his parents. Iron Man lost his parents. Winter Soldier lost his parents. Hulk lost his parents. Luke Skywalker lost his mother, and his father is half man, half machine. Princess Leia lost her parents. Rey, the new Star Wars, lost her parents. Cinderella is an orphan. Snow White is an orphan. It goes on and on and on. For some reason, they insist that children grow up with this idea of not having parents in your life. So they're breaking up the family on a psychological level. Okay, we can stop now. We'll stop with this, with Kathy O'Brien. If you haven't read her book, Transformation of America, very, very real, very shocking what happened to this lady. She's an MK Ultra woman. You get the alphas, the betas, the deltas, the gammas. She was, I think it's the betas, that are trained to become prostitutes for the elite, government elite. Her book is shocking when you read it. Kathy O'Brien outlines types of abuses that children have to undergo in the Luciferian cult in her book. Remember, the MK Ultra project is run by the CIA. It's a mind control exercise. Oh, another interesting thing that happens when the child is put under tremendous trauma and the brain splits in two, an incredible thing happens. The child actually develops supernatural powers, telekinesis, telepathy, remote viewing, incredible strength. Some of them display incredible strength. They divide them up into alpha, beta, delta, gamma. Others have incredible intellect ability, the ability to store memory in their brains. These incredible powers which are latent within all of us, but somehow they come to the surface when the person is put under extreme torture and abuse. So O'Brien tells you the whole story about her sexual abuse and her encounters with the Clinton family. She tells this horrific story in great detail in the book. O'Brien was 16. She was introduced to Bill Clinton, who raped her on a number of occasions, before eventually discovering that Hillary had done the same. Both Hillary and Bill used her as a sexual slave for their own gratification. This incident took place before the first Clinton presidency. We are now going to discuss the lie of religion. The lie of religion. Religious conditioning. Luciferians have a blueprint, a tailor-made abuse system. Each abuse is tailor-made, designed to have a specific outcome. So they carve the human psyche into certain behavioral consistencies by using specific planned and tailor-made abuses. Religious beliefs are used to inflict mental trauma on children. Guilt, of course, is a very powerful weapon that the Luciferians use. Asceticism, spiritual suffering and discipline. That's why you have all this suffering and self-inflicted suffering in the religious field, especially in the Catholic Church. Guilt causes breakdowns in child development. This religious conditioning in turn causes behavioral dysfunctions, which is then exploited by the cult. Such children are easy to analyze, control, and manipulate. So now let's look at the great lie of religion. And we're going to focus on this aspect of sin. What is sin all about? What does sin mean? And what does the psychology of believing in sin do to a human being? The inheritance of sin. Do we inherit sin? Are we sinful people? Do we all inherit sin from Adam and Eve? The Bible says that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. It's very important to understand that we are not born with sin. We are born pure. We are born without blemish. We are born holy. But as we develop and as we come in contact with our environment and with other people, it affects us. And we choose then to sin. So sin is not a genetic thing. We don't get it through our genes. Sin is something we get through choice. We choose to live an unethical lifestyle. But the true nature of who we are inside remains pure and clean. Convince the world that they are sinners, and the world will live in a world of sin, a world of perpetual fear, a world of unworthiness. People will have this feeling of unworthiness. Sin as a mind manipulation. You see, like the movie world says, like they say on Dune, fear is a mind killer. We need to deal with this aspect of fear in our lives. Sin is a mind control technique which uses fear. And all the religions have it. Judaism, Islam, and Christianity are all mind control mechanisms to control human behavior. Religion controls people through fear. Religion controls people through fear. Like I said, we are not sinful creatures. Fear limits us. Fear limits our endless potential. Religion falsely teaches us that we are sinful, imperfect, and unworthy. And of course, religion uses this to their advantage. If you can teach somebody that he's sinful, then he is in need of the religious clergy. He needs to be washed clean, and therefore he needs the church and he needs the clergy. And in that way, people become dependent on the church. Persistent conditioning to live in fear. So victory over sin is what church people want. People want to be free of sin. The problem with that whole arrangement is that you can never be free of sin. And so you live in this constant world that you are not good enough, that you are never good enough, no matter what you do. Victory over sin is endlessly strived for, but never achieved. You see, sin is a hustle which frustrates human development. If you believe you're a sinner, you will act as a sinner, and you will die as a sinner. Luciferians have kept us in the dark about everything. We are caught in an intended, deliberate ignorance created by the church. They have lied to us, and they have kept the truth from us, and we are ignorant and deceived. In their eyes, we are stupid cattle who deserve to be deceived. We are the goyim, we are the cattle. We don't know any better. And that's why religion works so well with us, because we are so easily indoctrinated, so easily controlled. But remember, there's no real compassion. These people, these Luciferians, these psychopathic individuals, care nothing for us. They don't care about us. You see, we associate, we give them human emotion. We think that they are like us, but they are not like us. And therefore, they deceive us, because we say to ourselves, how can somebody be so evil? How can someone be so heartless? And yet, that's exactly what's happening. They are heartless, without emotion, psychopathic, and narcissistic. We are simply a commodity to them, something that can be used. We are a food source to them. We are sustenance to them. You see, your children are just their next takeaway happy meal. Just like you eat a hamburger, they eat us. So it is high time that we awake out of sleep, that we become wise, that we become, subtle and streetwise. We need to become streetwise in dealing with these people. It is high time that we awake out of sleep before it is too late. Humans must defeat themselves to be defeated. Let's just ponder on that. Humans must defeat themselves to be defeated. There's no one else to blame, in other words, than ourselves. We have allowed ourselves to be ignorant. We have opened the door to these individuals. We've allowed them in. Just like Eve allowed the serpent to beguile her. We have all been beguiled. We have all been seduced by these Luciferians. Let's now talk about vampirism. Vampirism is very real. And we're not just talking about blood vampirism, but we are also talking about vampirism of energy. Parasitical individuals who live off the energy that we give off. That is their substance. You see, fourth dimensional beings don't eat carbon-based life forms like we do, but they eat the energy. Fourth dimensional beings feed off the electromagnetic energy that we emit. And that form of vampirism is far worse than normal blood vampirism. There is an energy that is released off us, a morphic resonance that comes off us. A morphic resonance that is imbued within our consciousness. So it's our very consciousness that gives off a energy like a vapor, and it is this vapor that they consume. They don't have the precious life force that we have. They want it, they need it, and so they parasite off us to get it. A thorn tree cannot produce grapes, and so you will know them by their fruits. Each tree produces its own fruit. So we have to ask ourselves the question, what fruit are these individuals producing? And that's how you will know them. You will know them by their fruits, not by what they say, because they mimic us, they lie, they can mimic our emotions. Don't be deceived by what they say and how they feel, but look at their fruit. Look at what they do, in other words. They view us as something to be devoured. Leviathanic beings are dark and empty and crave our life energy. They are addicted to our life energy and will do anything to consume it. So see your energy as something precious. See this life force that is within you as something precious, and don't give it away. Don't allow them to devour it. They are unable to enjoy the radiance and the fullness of life that we enjoy. Even if they get hold of our life force, they still cannot be like we are. They can only be parasitical. So what is this morphogenetic energy? Let's look more into that. Morphogenetic energy. Around our bodies, we have this energy field, this aura, and there's special cameras that can take photographs of this aura. The aura is directly related to our chakras, and each chakra gives off a different color. So the colors of the spectrum are revealed in our aura, in our energy field. The electromagnetic energy continually radiates out of us. Humans are a wellspring of physical and spiritual power. In fact, as we age, the colors change over time. The color of the energy field shifts from white when we are young. It gives off a tremendous white light. But as we grow older, the full spectrum of rainbow colors is revealed. So even pain, all emotions have an aura, have an energy field. Fear has a specific color. Pain has a specific color. Love has a specific color and a specific frequency of energy. Each person has a unique energy field. The way the different energies come together and the way they fuse create a unique signature which is unique to that individual. Each person has a unique energy field signature based on experience, life attitude, and environment. Nurture, nature. Some of it is of our genetic makeup. We are born with it, and others happen to us over time. Nurture and nature develops a unique individual. When we experience pleasure, our energy field is magnified. The energy field is the most magnified when we experience pain. That is why human sacrifice is always done to bring about the most pain and suffering out of the individual. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to magnify this pain energy field. Because the more it is magnified, the stronger the energy field and the more sustenance the 5D beings can use as a sustenance, as a food source. Remember, they eat our energy. The consumption of energy. Like we eat food, spiritual entities eat energy. Our electromagnetic energy is also called lush. Lush is a slang word for this energy. Another word which comes from the east is orgone energy. And the scientific term for this lush is morphogenetic energy. We all have it, and it comes off our bodies. It radiates off our bodies. Children are mostly desired because they carry the purest lush. The reason why child sacrifice is so prevalent and so rife in the occult and the Luciferic world is because of the fact that children's energy is pure, very strong, It is the purest lush, and it is highly sought after. And so children are targeted for this reason. In the movie Dr. Sleep, which came out in 2019, we actually see the movie makers show us these vampire creatures performing a human sacrifice on a child, and as the child experiences this tremendous pain and agony, the lush comes off the body like steam, and they show you this steam. You can see it here in this photograph. This steam, this energy coming off, is then consumed by these beings. They need it because they desire it. The consumption of lush, and it gives them eternal life. The more they take in of this substance, the longer they will live. So that is the movie Dr. Sleep, a very, very horrific movie. The scene of the baseball boy who is given over to human sacrifice is a horrific scene, and not for sensitive viewers. So lush is the psychic, emotional, or chemical energy that is emitted by beings who are suffering and tormented like children. It gives those who tap into it an intense erotic high that is extremely addictive. So during child sacrifice, the longer the child can be kept alive while enduring extreme torture, the more lush is released and can be pilfered. The more pain, the more lush comes off the body. Most amount of pain for the longest period of time increases adrenal load and electromagnetic output. Physical torture is therefore an essential part of satanic ritual abuse. A fully possessed and experienced witch can keep a child in extreme pain. See, the child cannot die, so it's a delicate balance between extreme pain and torture, but not allowing the child to die as well. In the end, the child is exhausted and passes out or dies. Providing a living child to Lucifer is rewarded with worldly power and wealth. Satanic beings desperately want children, and so those that bring children to them to be consumed are rewarded with great wealth and privilege in the society. In the movie Apocalypto, made by Mel Gibson, which came out in 2006, we see human sacrifice being practiced by the Aztecs of South America. The horror of Aztec culture, human sacrifice. The consumption of energy. Now remember, the blood also contains energy. And as the child is dying, those participating in the ritual will drink this energy-infused blood. That is why the practice of drinking blood is so prevalent during human sacrifice. The blood must be drunk while the child is still alive, because that's when the blood has its most potent effect. Like I said, the addiction of human sacrifice is incredible. Okay, now let's talk a bit about adrenochrome. Adrenochrome. This is what is rumored that the Hollywood actors are consuming in order to stay young and to increase longevity of life. Adrenochrome. The blood contains a powerful drug called adrenochrome that has many effects. So the consumption of this adrenochrome increases physical strength. It's like acts as an aphrodisiac and causes sexual arousal and increased libido. It's also an anti-aging aspect to this blood. It has anti-aging constituents in it. Also, it acts as a narcotic, highly addictive. The more you have, the more you want to have. So it's a narcotic euphoria and is similar, they say, to heroin. There is a large amount of adrenaline in the blood caused by the heightened amount of pain in the child's body. So as the child undergoes tremendous torture and pain, the heart beats faster, more blood is pumped around the body, and the blood is also highly saturated, infused with adrenaline from the adrenal glands. Intense pain also causes hyperventilation, which increases the blood oxygen level. So now in the blood we have large amounts of adrenaline, but we also have large amounts of oxygen in the blood, oxygenated blood, oxidized blood. So the adrenaline is therefore oxidized by the increased oxygen levels. Adrenaline combines chemically with oxygen. This metabolism, chemical reaction, produces adrenochrome. In actual fact, there are 4 ingredients in making adrenochrome. The one is blood, the physical aspect of blood, adrenaline in the blood, and oxygen in the blood. Those 3 things, blood, adrenaline, and oxygen, make up adrenochrome. But there's also a 4th element, and that is the energy in the spiritual realm, in the 5D realm, that comes off the physical blood, which is lush, which is this morphogenetic energy. And so it's those 4 substances. It's the blood itself, it's adrenaline, it's oxygen, and morphogenetic resonance, lush. Those 4 ingredients make up adrenochrome. Adrenochrome, the Luciferian drug, the drug of choice for Hollywood and government elites, harvested from the human body, specifically infants. Adrenochrome is a chemical asset of the autonomic nervous system. We're now going to talk about the lie of philanthropy. Philanthropy, doing good things for others. Luciferians are not only wolves, but they are wolves in sheep's clothing. They are there to deceive, to kill, and to devour the sheep being a metaphor for humanity, for us. So famous people are forever involved in deeds of philanthropy. They're always on the media showing the world how much they care for humanity and all the wonderful projects and how much money they have denoted to charity, to philanthropic causes. We get this all the time. But don't be deceived. There is something very sinister going on here with philanthropy. It's a deception. Also, it's a form of money making. With the new ESG protocol that's coming into the world, with the World Economic Forum, the environmental, social governance aspect that's now tied to business, it's just another form of social impact investments. And so they use poor people and the plight of the poverty-stricken to generate income for themselves. So they don't have people's best interests at heart. It's a selfish endeavor to increase their wealth, their image, their popularity, their reputation. So famous people like Bill Gates comes across as this great philanthropist. And they only want to help people. They want to help the poor people in the world. It's the lie of philanthropy. Why do you think the Clintons are so involved with the poor people in Haisha. To them, humanity is only a commodity to be exploited. Extortion of poor people to make money. The Haitian project by the Clintons was all about women and children sex slavery, pedophilia, MK Ultra, and child sacrifice. Donations to these organizations is a form of consent. So when the public gives money to these charitable organizations, it's actually a spiritual form of consent. You're agreeing with them and you're supporting them by giving money to them. Remember, when you give money to something, there is an energy exchange taking place. So Luciferians have kept us in the dark about everything. We are caught in an intended, deliberate ignorance. We are blind, and we are deliberately being blinded, being deceived by these people. They have lied to us and kept the truth from us, and we are ignorant and we are deceived. In their eyes, we are stupid cattle who deserve to be deceived. They see us as cattle. They see us as the Goyim. They see us as a subspecies on the planet. They manipulate us and lie to us and deceive us because in their minds they are superior to us. We are simply there as a commodity for them. They don't care about us. There's no compassion in anything that they do. Everything has ulterior motives. We are simply food for them. Your children are just their next takeaway happy meal at McDonald's. Like we eat hamburgers at McDonald's, they eat us. They see us as a food source for them. So people, it is high time that we awake out of sleep before it is too late. Humans must defeat themselves to be defeated. In other words, we are our own worst enemy. We have allowed the vampire into the house. They've asked us to come in, and we've allowed them to come in. We've allowed ourselves to be deceived, and we've allowed ourselves to be manipulated by them. If we allowed it, then we can also stop it. We need to draw a line in the sand and say no, thus far and no further. So the power of man. What the Luciferians do is they shut us off and don't want us to know who we really are. If humanity really knew who they were, if humanity really knew how much power we have, the Luciferians and the New World Order would have absolutely no control over us. And so that's a very, very important thing. They have to keep us under, they have to make us feel guilty. They preach this. In the Bible, it talks about sin, okay? And this is one of the biggest lies of religion. Religion teaches us that we are sinful creatures. Do you know there's nowhere in the Bible where it says that we're sinful creatures? In fact, we are born pure, holy, clean, no sin in us. We, through choice, eventually partake in sinful and unethical behavior. But our true inner nature is not sinful. But the Luciferians would love you to believe that you are sinful, because that brings guilt, that brings control, that brings the ability for them to rule over you. Because, oh, I am this horrible sinner that needs salvation. And that's a way of controlling the human race. Religion is used by the Luciferians to control the human race. It's one of the biggest lies out there. So human beings are incredibly powerful beings, capable of great acts of kindness and compassion. We have the power to forgive and to heal. They don't have that power. They want it, but they don't have it. We are conscious, we are aware beings that exist on multiple planes of existence. Okay? The seven stages of man. We don't only exist on a 3D plane. We live and exist on higher planes as well. The Luciferians do not want us to know who we are and how powerful we are. If we knew how powerful we were, they wouldn't be able to control us. So the human potential is so vital to overcoming this great evil that is in the world. There is a knowingness that we have to have. We have the potential and the possibility to overcome the darkness. No matter how powerful these Luciferians are, we are still on the winning side, because goodness will always triumph over evil. The power of knowing who you are is vital. No one can stand up to the dragon but you. We cannot rely on a savior to help us. You yourself, that is the whole reason why you're here. That is why you chose this incarnation, to confront your demons and in your own power to overcome them. Just like Jesus, who went into hell itself and overcame Satan and his angels in his own power, so we have that ability as well. You need to awaken. There's an awakening that has to happen. You need to find the courage in yourself, and you need to overcome the evil one. Only you can do it. Humankind must save itself, because no one else can. If you don't do anything about it, no one else is going to do anything about it. The battle between good and evil is the only war that exists. Stop fighting each other. They have caused major divisions amongst us. Divisions of race, divisions of class, divisions of culture and family. They've caused these divisions in us so that we fight each other instead of fighting the 1%. Let's take all our energy, let's stand together as a human family and fight the 1%. The 99 can and will overcome the 1%, the cabal that rule over this world. I want to end with this beautiful story that we find in Lord of the Rings, with the elf queen, Galadriel. She came to the young hobbit and instructed him. Remember, he was the only person, he carried the ring. He was the only one who was able to carry the ring. So he's like a Christ figure. He had to take the ring and throw it into the mountains of doom, into the fire of doom. But he's feeling faint. This little boy, this little hobbit says, I can't do it. Who am I? Who am I? You see, you have to know who you are. And so she comes and encourages him. And she's like an angel. She comes and encourages him, and she says, this task was appointed to you, Frodo, of the Shire. If you do not find a way, no one else can. No one else will. So it's a message of, don't wait for somebody else to do it. This is a spiritual battle, okay? It starts in the spiritual realm. You have to stand up. You have to have the courage to stand up, and you have to have the courage to say no to your enemy. And believe you me, you have an enemy. And she says these most beautiful words. I almost wept when I heard them when I was sitting there in the movie house eating my popcorn, and these words came over the silver screen. Even the smallest person can change the course of the future. Isn't that powerful? Even the smallest person can change the course of the future. And that's what the Luciferians fear the most. is somebody standing up, awakening and realizing how much power he has. The awakened cannot be unawakened. This is the greatest fear. We have the tools. They're built inside us to stop them. But we are asleep. And what needs to happen is we need to wake up. It is high time to awake out of sleep. Thank you.